All right, let's just get right into it. What if I told you that pretty much everything you've ever learned about meditation is, well, wrong? The whole idea that you have to clear your mind, sit for hours, struggle to be still, we're going to take a look at why the very tools that are supposed to bring us peace might actually be the reason we're all still so stressed out. And the scale of this is just huge. We're talking over 300 million people around the world practicing yoga and meditation. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry with all the apps, courses, and retreats you can imagine. And they're all promising to fix the same thing: our crazy modern lives filled with anxiety and burnout. But here's the crazy part, right? Even with all of that, this low-level chronic stress is still an epidemic. It almost seems like the more we try to meditate our way out of it, the worse it gets. So what if the problem isn't us? What if the tool itself is the problem? This brings us to this idea called alleged logical foolery, or ALF for short. And it's actually pretty simple when you think about it. We're using one program in our brain, let's call it the calm down program, to fight another program, the anxiety program. It's literally like trying to put out a fire with, well, more fire. It's a closed loop, and it just ends up creating more heat than it puts out. And that little piece of logical foolery, it creates this massive paradox where our attempt to find peace actually becomes part of the problem. Instead of putting out the flames of stress, we end up accidentally throwing more fuel on a fire we started ourselves. And this is how traditional meditation can trap us in what you could call the 5 prisons. First, it demands our time. Then it demands effort, which just creates this endless struggle. It tells us we need some special skill, some mastery. It costs us money for the apps and the courses. And maybe worst of all, it asks for this super narrow focus that honestly is just exhausting for our nervous system. This metaphor just nails it perfectly. We spend all day fanning the flames of our own stress, and then we take this short 20-minute cool shower of meditation. Yeah, it feels good for a second, but it does absolutely nothing about the fire itself. The minute that timer dings, we're jumping right back into a burning house. And all that forced, narrow focus, it creates 3 different kinds of mental burns. You've got the friction burn, which is just that pure exhaustion from trying to force your mind to be still. Then comes the judgment burn. That's the guilt you feel when you can't do it, when you think you're doing it wrong. And finally, the avoidance burn, where after you're done, the real world feels even louder and more overwhelming than before. But what if there's a totally different way? What if a secret's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years, buried in the source code of these ancient texts? Overlooked by all the experts, but finally cracked by someone you'd never expect. So check this out. It all boils down to a completely new translation of just a few key words in Sanskrit. The word chapeti was always thought to mean to burn away your bad thoughts, an active effort, right? But what if it actually means to neutralize? The yeti wasn't just to glow, but to experience this deep serenity. See the difference? It's not about fighting your mind anymore. It's about changing the entire environment your thoughts exist in. And here it is. This is the big idea. The secret isn't some new technique. It's the realization that space itself, that boundless, edgeless awareness that's all around you right now, is the mind's operating system. You don't have to install peace. You just have to notice it's already there and close the other programs that are causing conflicts. And get this, who figured this out? Not some famous guru in a monastery. It was Rama Arya, a self-taught IT guy from India's Dalit community. His outsider perspective was everything. He wasn't weighed down by tradition, so he could look at the mind like a computer system and see the bugs in the code that generations of spiritual leaders had completely missed. Okay, I know this might be sounding a little abstract, but there is hard proof. Let's look at the story of a healer named Melina. She had 20 years of experience with traditional meditation. What happened to her was, in her own words, outrageous. So on one hand, you've got the old way. That's the 20-minute struggle, eyes closed, trying to find some fragile temporary peace. On the other hand, you have what Melina found, a 30-second transformation, an instant recognition of space, eyes open in the middle of a crisis. And the result? Not temporary peace, but immediate neutralization of stress. So how did this even happen? In her first 30-second session, she felt her muscles just instantly relax. In the second session, she started seeing her stressors as nothing more than little ripples in a huge, vast space. And by the third session, she could do it all by herself, on demand, with her eyes open. Free sessions, we're talking less than 3 minutes total, undid 2 decades of struggle. It's wild. So let's talk about the return on investment here. With traditional methods, you get about a 1x return. You put in 20 minutes of hard work, you get 20 minutes of temporary coping. But with this new approach, this 360 open space, you're looking at a 4x return. That's not just coping, that's transformation. And what does that 4x return actually get you? Well, first, you get instant neutralization of any stressor. Second, you get that deep serenity, that glow we talked about. Third, you get this amazing luminous clarity where your mind just feels sharp. And fourth, you unlock this wild inner creativity because all that energy you were using to fight yourself is now free. But here is the absolute most important part of this whole thing. This is not another skill you have to learn. This is not one more thing to add to your to-do list. This is about recognizing a powerful, innate ability you already have, and you use it perfectly every single day without even thinking about it. Seriously. You are already a spatial genius. Think about how you walk through a crowded store or drive in traffic or just move around your house without bumping into everything. You do it effortlessly because you're constantly sensing the space around you. You don't have to try to do it. You just do it. This is the perfect example. You walk into a giant supermarket with 100,000 different things screaming for your attention. You can look at a pile of tomatoes, see a ripe one right next to an unripe one, and you don't have a meltdown. You just pick the ripe one. Your mind naturally navigates that incredibly complex space. So why on earth should our inner world be any different? So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What if peace isn't some prize you get at the end of a long, hard struggle? What if it isn't an achievement you have to earn? What if it's just the background, the operating system, the space that's always been there, just waiting quietly for you to notice it? Because if that's true, well, that changes everything.